Come on in. Hi, Marie. As you're coming in, say hello. We're not going to be long tonight at all. God bless you. As you're coming on, tag 5 people. Like, comment, share so that we can make the name of Jesus greater. So I'm so happy that you all have tuned in tonight. It's been a while, but I was talking to the Lord and I said, it's been such a long time since the people of God, some people are just not experiencing the wholeness in God that they've been praying for. And I'm looking at people that are fasting, they're praying, they're consecrating, yet they're still not seeing what they need from God happen as they prayed for it to. And so I began to ask the Lord, I said, well, Lord, I need you to show me in the scriptures what is going on. Why is it that we have so many people who are praying, but yet they feel as if they're not whole after praying? We're going to church, some of us, and we leave just as depressed sometimes coming out of the church than we do going in. So I began to ask the Lord, what is going on? Why is it that some of your people are not seeing the wholeness in you that they could be? And he began to take me to the scriptures, and he said they've forgotten that, first of all, deliverance is a decision. I need you to understand that God is not going to force deliverance on you. He's not going to force you to be whole. But deliverance first starts in the mind. Good evening, Jill. Good evening to you. Deliverance first starts in the mind. You can type that out. Before anybody lays hands on you, before anybody prophesies to you, there has to be a cognitive and cognizant decision that you make in your mind that I want to be delivered and that I want to be whole. As you're coming on, tag 5 people. Comment, like, and share. And so I said, okay, God. I said, I understand that. And then he took me to, of course, the book of James, chapter 2, where it says, just as the body without a spirit is dead, so is faith without works. And so you've got a lot of people who are talking faith, decreeing and declaring that this is my year, and yet another year has transpired and it is not the year that you've asked God for. And so the Lord took me to the scriptures, and this is going to be very brief, so those who are not on, they're going to miss it, but you can watch the replay later. He took me to the Gospel of Mark, chapter 3, and this is the parable where there was a man there with a withered hand. And so the Bible declares that Jesus just told him, he said, listen, I need you to stretch out your hand. It's withered. I'm not going to lay my hands on you. I'm not going to prophesy to you. I'm not going to grease you down with oil. You got a hand that is severely withered. And so what I need for you to do, man with the withered hand, I need you to stretch out your hand. And the Bible says when he stretched out his hand, then again, the Bible says that he was made whole from that instant. And then he took me to the Gospel of St. John, where there was a man, the Bible says, that had been impotent for years. And so Jesus, remember, I told you that deliverance first starts with a decision. This is where the Bible backs it up. Jesus looks at this man knowing his condition, and asked him one question. He said, wilt thou be made whole? In other words, Jesus was asking him, listen, I know you've got something you want to be delivered from. I know you have a condition that ails you, but I need to know, do you want to be delivered? And somebody said, now that's a crazy question to ask somebody who's impotent. But let me tell you, some people have grown accustomed to living with their demons, and they have began to profit off of their pain. And so God asked him, Jesus asked him one simple question and said, will you be made whole? This is the response that the man gave him. He said, sir, I don't have anybody to put me in the water. Every time I go to get in the water, somebody else jumps in the water ahead of me and beats me to it. Number one, Jesus didn't ask him anything about water. He didn't ask him if he needed anybody to pick him up, to carry him to the water. He asked him one simple question. Wilt thou be made whole? And instead of giving Jesus a simple yes, he gave Jesus an excuse as to why he was not whole. Could it be that the reason some of us are not whole in God is because we're still offering God excuses as to why we cannot be effective in the kingdom? Why is it that we can't walk on the water, Peter? Instead of just taking our faith and working with our faith, we're giving God excuses, just like Moses did. He said, you're going to use me? Do you understand that I stutter? And God was like, of course I know that you stutter, but I'm going to take your mouth, that mouth that stutters, and I'm going to use it to go to the very same people that you grew up with and tell them to release my people. And so again, he gave him an excuse. But if you notice, Jesus did not respond to his pity. I need somebody to type that. God is not going to respond to your pity. I know sometimes we can go through things so much and we can cry and we can be in this pitiful state and ask God, do you not see me suffering this? Oh, woe is me. Look what I'm going through. Look at everybody that's turned their backs on me. Jesus never responded to the man's pity. He didn't respond to the man's excuse. God will not respond to your pity, but he responds to your potential. Wow. You need to type that out. God will not respond to your pity, but he will respond to your potential. How is it that God can speak to a man that's impotent, could not walk, and say, listen, I need you to rise first, take up your bed, and walk? Now, I'm reminding you again, Jesus did not touch him. He did not say jump, or if you just wiggle your eyes 3 times, or if you just move your hands 5 times. Jesus did not go through all of those semantics. A lot of what we deal with in the church today are just merely semantics. Turn down the lights so that people can be drawn into worship. Those things are semantics. And listen, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, God does not operate in semantics. God sometimes will operate and move in the stillness and the simplisticness of situations before he will respond to semantics. And so Jesus asked him one question. Do you want to be whole? Do you want to be whole? Or do you want to continue with these excuses another 38 years? Every time I try to get close to the water, somebody beats me to it. Well, God, I prayed for the job, but I didn't get it. Yeah, but God said, but did you apply? Yes. And you said, well, God, I asked you to raise my credit score. I need a better credit score. Okay. But did you start paying some of the bills off that are the reason why your credit score is low? And God is just saying, he said, tell my people there are things that they must do. You're having the faith, and the faith is not the problem. It's the works. You cannot expect, as my grandmother used to say, a pie to fall out of the sky. But if you're asking God for a pie, God will allow you, as you're walking and you're believing him, he'll allow you to meet somebody who will say, here, I just felt like I wanted to be a blessing to you and give you these sweet potatoes. And then as you keep believing God and you keep going in God, and then he'll allow you to meet somebody that says, hey, I wanted to bless you with this nutmeg and this butter and these eggs. God will give you what you need to build your promise, but you're still there and you have all the ingredients to make the sweet potato pie that you asked God for. But what you lack is the motivation. What you lack is the will to act on what you've asked God for. I'm going somewhere. I hope y'all have shared this. I hope y'all are sharing this message. And so again, Jesus did not respond to his pity. I've been lame 38 years. And every time I try to get in the water, somebody beats it to me. Jesus did not respond to that. He said, listen, stop all of that. I don't want to hear your excuses. You're talking to the one that is able to restore you. So when you're talking to the one who's able to restore you, the last thing you need to do is come with an excuse. And he said, listen, cut all of that out. Arise, take up your bed, and just walk out of this. God is saying the reason some of you all are still in these cycles is because you refuse to arise and take up your own bed and walk. God said, I've already opened the door for you to come out of this thing, but you are sitting in the chair waiting for me to come pick you up and carry you out of this when I've given you. And Jesus said, wait a minute. He said, wait. He said to the man with the withered hand, he said, listen, he said, I need you to come to me. And people were looking like, why would he tell a man with a withered hand to come to him? Because Jesus understood that the problem was with his hand, not with his feet. And he said, you've got to use what you got to get what you want. You're not lame. You can walk. It's just that your hand is impaired. So I need you to do the part that you can do. You do the natural and I'll do the super. And this is how you get supernatural. And he said, yes, I know your hand is impaired, but Jesus said, come to me. And the man used the faculties that were working. And he made it to Jesus. How often are we not using what we do have in order to come out of these things? How many times are we not using what we can to come out? And we're sitting waiting on God to orchestrate this great, grandiose, divine plan of escape when he's simply saying, listen, you have two legs that you can use. Come to me. And when you come to me, I'm going to speak the word and tell you to stretch out the thing that was withered. And I'm going to tell you to stretch it out because you still have bones in your hands. I know what I put inside of you. And again, Jesus was not speaking to the man's pity. He didn't speak to the pitiful situation of the man with the withered hand. He didn't speak to the pitifulness and the excuses of the man who was lame by the pool of Bethesda. Instead, he said, listen, I need you to understand that even though your hand is crippled, there's still bones in there that I can speak to, and those bones can be made straight. You've got to do the parts that you can do. And so this is the common point for tonight. I'm almost done. Number one is you have to use what you have. Come on, man, with the withered hand. Your hand is impaired, but there's nothing wrong with your feet. And Jesus said, come to me. He said, I'm not coming to you. I'm not going to come to you. I'm not laying hands on you. You come to me. And when you use what you have to come to me, I'm going to speak to the bones that are not crushed. And I'm going to command them to stretch. But as I'm speaking the word, I need you to act on what I've said. Wow. Wow, y'all. How often does God give us a word, but we miss it and we miss seasons because we're not acting on what God has told us to act on? I don't know who I'm talking to tonight. You wanted that business, but you didn't go and you didn't learn about how to run a business. And so you're sitting there 5 years down the road and you're upset at God because you don't have the business. But did you find a mentor? Did you find somebody who has their own business already and say, let me sit down at your feet and learn? Can you teach me how to run a business? And God said, I've sent people in your direction. I've spoken the word. I'm not going to take your hand and stretch it out for you. You have got to have the will. You've got to want this thing. Number 2, do you want it bad enough? Do you want to be whole bad enough until you will step out on faith, Peter? Do you really want to walk on this water, or are you just talking? Because if you just talking, stay in the boat. But if you really want to walk on this water, Peter, he said, just come. Peter had to be willing to take his foot and step over the boat and step out on something that no one had ever stepped out on before. And so he said, do you want this bad enough to where if I speak the word, man with the withered hand, even though your hand has never been straight, if I speak to you and say, stretch out your hand, do you have the faith to put with the works to try to stretch it out? Even though you may have tried before and it was still withered. Even though you may have massaged it before and it remained withered. When I speak the word to you, do you have the faith enough to work with what I've spoken to you, to act upon what I promised you? And he said, stretch out your hand. The man had to use his own potential, his own energy to stretch out his hand. What is God saying tonight? He's saying, how often could you already have been delivered, but you refuse to do the parts that you could do because we gotten lazy and we want God to do everything while we sit back and we do nothing. And we expect God to do everything for us. But we want to sit back and do nothing. So number 3 is, again, God will not respond to your pity. Furthermore, he's going to speak to your potential. Anytime God gives you a promise, he's not talking to where you are now. He's speaking to the you that you shall be. He's speaking to who he knows you can be. When he says that you're going to be a millionaire, he's speaking to the you that he knows has the capacity to get out there and work what he has given you and then see the promises come to pass. But no, you think that I'm just going to keep playing the lottery. I'm not saying it can't come like that. But you get mad when it doesn't come in the form that you think it should come in. And God is saying, are you doing your part? Are you working with the promises? I can't just say something and you not do it. Again, James chapter 2 tells us that faith without works is just like me sitting here. And if my spirit left my body would be dead, not able to do anything. The Bible even declares that it's the spirit of a man that sustaineth him. So I'm asking you tonight, is your spirit willing to work with what God has promised you? Could you be stuck in that circle because it's not that God hasn't given you a promise, and it's not that God is not faithful to perform his word, but could it be that you are not using your spirit to move in the season, to move in the timing of God? The man was waiting on the troubling of the water, and he didn't know that he was already talking to the living waters. Somebody, y'all to catch that right there. He was talking to the living water, yet waiting on somebody to dump him in the water. Jesus said, no, I'm not coming to do that. He said, you're talking to the one that can heal you. I need you to get up. And I need you to pick up the thing that used to carry you And I need you to start carrying it. God is telling us now to get up off of the seat of do nothing. Get up and stop depending on the things that carried you to this point. And get up and carry the thing that's been carrying you. Could it be that you're waiting on God when essentially God is waiting on you? And I find out one thing, Tamika, I found out this one thing is that we're believing God for things that we refuse to act upon. We ask God for all of these things. We ask God, God, I need a new house. Are you keeping your current apartment clean? Come on, somebody. You know I'm telling the truth. God, I want a 6-figure salary job. Okay, well, are you being a good steward over the job that's paying you $9.95? Are you showing up to work on time? Are you working as unto the Lord? Because when you get a 6-figure salary job, it's going to come with more requirements, more responsibilities. And if you can't be faithful over the few things that I have given you, then why are you getting mad when I've not yet made you ruler over many things? See, God speaks to your capacity, and he speaks and works with your willingness. Somebody needs to type that. God speaks to your capacity, but he will only work according to your willingness. Will you be made whole? Do you want this thing bad enough to come out of this thing? Do you want this thing to where you'll believe God and you will go out there and you will say, God, I tried that and it didn't work, but I'm not going to stop trying. I'm going to keep trying something, and I'm going to find out which avenue you are in. And when I find out the avenue that you are in, I'm going to work that thing. That's the area that I'm going to work. Once I find all it is about tapping into the heart of God. And God will show you the way to go. But what is he going to tell somebody to go that way to somebody that refuses to move? Some of you are stuck in the same situation, and it's not because God doesn't love you. It's not because God doesn't see your tears, and it is not because God doesn't want to bring you out, and that it's not because God is taking pleasure that you are going through these things. The problem is that you simply refuse to move. You've got to move. Something. You've got to move. If you notice in both of these scriptures that I gave you, Jesus had them to move. They had to do something. They had to move first. And their miracle came within their movement. Wow. Your miracle will come when you start moving towards what God has spoken over your life. This is when you will see the miracles. When you start making the movements. When you make the proper adjustments. Some of these adjustments are going to cost you people. Some of these adjustments is going to cost you a lifestyle change. You're saying, God, I want this. I want that. I want to be healthy. Okay, can you put those hog mogs down? Ma'am, can you put down that whole entire plate of chitterlings? Okay, can you put that down? God, I want to lose weight. Okay, baby, you got to stop eating potato chips at 12:30 and 1 o'clock in the morning. But followed by a 20-ounce Pepsi. You have got, God is saying, I don't mind working with it, but you're not moving towards me. God Almighty. You're not moving towards the promise. You're not moving on what you asked me to do, but you want to blame me when you don't see what you prayed for. Listen, God will show you the promise. But sometimes what he will leave out is the process. God will sometimes leave out the process of how you're going to get to the promise. Because if he tells you that you're going to lose some friends, or you might lose some loved ones, or you're going to have to sometimes go without, we will turn back on God then, because we're going to be like, I don't want to go through that. I don't want to deal with that. It's not worth it. But God knows that at the end of this thing, the promise is going to be so great that it's going to cause you to forget the pain of the process. Y'all just said something. The promise, when you get it, will cause you to forget the pain and the struggle of the process. But you've got to be willing to move. You're saying, God, I want to live in a better neighborhood. I want a better house. Are you getting out there looking for the house? Are you getting in your car looking for the house? Or do you expect the house to drop on you like it did the Wicked Witch of the West from the Wizard of Oz? God is saying, we got to do this. This is a partnership. Okay? I'm going to do the super, but you've got to do the natural. Listen, do you not know that when the children of Israel came to the Red Sea, that the waters would never have parted if Moses had not stretched out his hand with the rod in it? Again, Moses had to do the natural. God said, I'll handle the super, but I also gave you capacity. I gave you the potential. I've given you a will. I've given you the strength to do something. And as they used to say in the old days, if you make one step, God said, I don't mind making two, but I need to see that you want this bad enough that you will do something to come after what you prayed for. And so God doesn't want your excuses when he's trying to make you the exception. That's my last one for tonight. God cannot operate in excuses when he's trying to make you the exception. What do I mean by the exception? Okay, when had it been that somebody had gotten up and taken up the bed that they were carried on for 38 long years, and they themselves got up with their own will by the power of God, took up the thing that was carrying them and walked out with it? Never before. And so this is why Jesus, when he heard the man giving him all the excuses, he didn't even respond to that. He said, listen, arise. That's a word for somebody tonight. You need to get up. You've got to get up out of that. God said the door is wide open, but get up and walk out. Do you hear me? Get up and walk. God said, I'm not finna move your feet. I'm not going to take your left leg and then move your right leg and then move your left leg and then move your right leg again. God said, no, I've opened up the door. And he said, opening up the door is all I promised you I would do. If you want to come out of this thing, you'll arise, take up that bed, and you will walk out of this thing. And God is saying, I'm no more going to be doing this. He said, and in the Bible, it says, how long are you going to be on milk? When will you eat meat? When will you grow in God? When will you stop letting every trial and tribulation cause you to go back to square one? You can't even be strengthened in God enough to fight these battles for operating in pity. Let me tell you something. Being pitiful does not lead you to being powerful. Your potential, pushing yourself to the max in God, pushing yourself and saying, God, I don't have all the strength to do this, but I will exert the strength and the energy that I do have to make this promise, to work with this promise. And God, whatever I lack, I need you to add to that. I need you to bless what I don't have. And he said, just like he told Abraham, he said, in multiplying, I will multiply thee. And in blessing, in the blessing, I will bless thee. But it had to be operating first. There had to be movement. There had to be belief that I can stretch out my hand, and this time it's going to remain straight. Listen, I'm really done. I'm really done. But I need you. I cannot allow you to go through 2022 like you did in 2021, believing that, okay, if I just throw my hands up and shout Jesus, Jesus, Jesus 3 times, then it's going to happen. No. All of these promises are contingent upon what you must do. Every promise that God gives you, there is something that you must do. This is why faith without works leads you to repeating these same cycles. And if you are tired of repeating generational curses, these same cycles, running up against brick walls, you need to examine yourself and you need to ask God, God, is there an area in my life that I am not working to my full potential, the enemy comes to bring that spirit of procrastination on you. Yes, he'll have you procrastinating. I'll do it tomorrow. God said, get up and start writing tonight. And you said, yeah, I know what he gave me, because God gave you the idea at nighttime. And he said, get up and start writing tonight. You said, okay, I'll remember that, and I'll just get up and I'll do it in the morning. What happens when you wake up? It's no longer there. You may not even remember what God gave you, and then you have missed a moment. You have missed an opportunity to carpe diem, seize the moment. Your prosperity, you play a part in your own prosperity. I'm going to say that again. You must play a part in your own prosperity. You must play a part in your deliverance. The woman with the issue of blood, she didn't just stand there and say, you know, I'm pretty sure Jesus sees me bleeding all over the place, so I'm going to just stand here and he's going to come to me and then I'll be healed. She said, listen, I can't, if I do this and I just stand here waiting for Jesus to come to me, I'll die bleeding. And that's what is going to happen to some of you if you don't recognize that you've got to move towards Jesus. You will die bleeding. What do I mean? You will die still wanting from God things that you could have already had, but because you did not do the part that you could do to get to Jesus. Just like he told Peter. He was already walking on the water. He said, come. Jesus was there and he said, Peter, you come to me. He didn't go and get Peter and say, let me hold your hand. I know you've never walked on water before, and so I know this is going to be scary. He said, I need you to know that if I'm on the water and you know who I am, then if I tell you to walk on the water, I've already made it safe. I've already made it where you will not drown in this. But you have still got to take your own foot and put it over the boat. Somebody say, I got to do the natural, and then God will do the super. God will do the super, but you got to do the natural. I hope y'all done tag somebody in this and share this. But listen, this is why you're not seeing what you have prayed for, because you're just praying, but you're not actively working towards the progression. We serve a progressional God that moves within time. And the reason some of you all have missed blessings is because you are operating out of the timing of God. God said, I need you to get up and do this now. We act on it 20 minutes later. And by the time that 20 minutes has expired, you have missed your moment. You've missed a season to be productive. Some of y'all were supposed to be rich ages ago, delivered ages ago, whole ages ago. We are our own holdup. Stop blaming the devil for everything. Sometimes it's just us. We're holding ourselves back because we come to God with excuses. Well, God, I know that you said that I'd be a business owner, but I can't even read. God said, I knew that when I made the promise to you. You don't think God knew what your limitations were before he made you the promise? That's because God doesn't speak to limitations. He exceeds limitations. This is why the Bible says in Ephesians 3:20, now unto him that is able to do what? Exceeding. What does that mean? There are no limitations in God. There are, but we bring our limitations to God and we say, here's what I'm working with, and this is why you can't do this in me. Because of this. Wow. Oh my God. Wow. And we come to God and we tell God, instead of listening to what God has told us, we tell God why he can't do what he promised. Well, God, I would do that, but my hand don't work. It's been withered out. Jesus said, I didn't ask for any of that. All I told you to do was stretch it. God said, if you would stretch your faith, some of y'all faith has been the same since you came to know God. You mean to tell me that all this time your faith hasn't grown in God to where you're like, God, I'm not really sure if you're in this, but I'm going to act on this. And because I'm acting in faith, I trust you, God, to navigate me through this. And if this is not the right thing, I trust you to navigate. Didn't it say that he would direct our path if we trusted in him? Listen, you're your own holdup. You are holding back you. And we are passing this on to our children. We're saying, listen, in our family, we can't do that because you are passing on generational curses. You're passing on demonic strongholds. Because when you tell your child, we can't do this because you're planting a seed of doubt in their mind that it doesn't matter what God says. I have this or I have that. So therefore, even if God spoke it, it can't happen. Wow. Listen, how long you gonna lay that lane? Isn't 38 years long enough? Isn't 38 years of being carried by people, dropped by people, having to depend on people to get you to and fro? Isn't 38 years long enough for you to want to see if you can do anything? The lame man, no doubt, was just used to laying there. Who knows if he had tried to pick up his feet, if he had tried to move his hands to see if anything was happening within those 38 years. No, because he got accustomed to what he was dealing with. Some of you all in these circumstances, you get comfortable in your circumstances. And when you become complacent in your circumstances, what you're telling God is, this is the best you can do for me. I'm not going to ask you for nothing else. I'm not going to believe you anymore. This is the best that you can do for me, so I'm going to accept this limitation. When God simply says, I'm the God who can do exceedingly. L-Y, that's an adverb. I can do exceeding and I can go beyond exceeding. I'm the God that does exceedingly. Abundantly. Wow, y'all. Above. Come on, what does an adverb do? An adverb describes a verb. It personifies the verb. What is the verb when he says exceeding? Exceeding is the verb. But God said, you're used to exceeding, but I'm trying to give you exceedingly. Woo, God Almighty. Y'all. He said, you're used to abundant, but I'm trying to show you that I am the God of abundantly. I'm the God of exceedingly, abundantly, above all you can ask or think. Now watch this. This is what's going to sum up this whole narrative tonight. According to the power that worketh in us. Y'all, did y'all catch that? Did y'all catch that? He said, I can do exceedingly, abundantly, above all you can ask or think, but it's going to be according to the power that's already working. ING, present participle, working in you. If you are not working the power that God gave you, this is why you're just seeing exceeding instead of exceedingly. You're just seeing abundant instead of abundantly. And you're not seeing above all you can ask or think. You're just seeing right there at the line of demarcation of what you ask God for. Y'all, it's right there in the word. Now to him that is able, unto him that is able to do exceedingly, abundantly, above anything you can ask or think. But it's got to be according to the power that is already working in you. Let me ask you a question tonight. Is the power of God working through you? Or are you riding and coasting on pity? Are you allowing the power of God to operate through you? Or are you coasting on pity, hoping that that's going to touch the heart of God so much so that he sees how pitiful your situation is that he's just going to bring you out? You got to walk. Get up. Take your bed and walk. Take your own hand. Stretch it out. And I'm going to show you the power that you never knew existed on the inside of you. We're looking for everybody else, our pastors and the apostles, to lay hands on. God said, behold, I give you power. Come on. That's the word. Behold, I give you power to tread on serpents and scorpions. Come on. He's talking to you. But we limit ourselves. I'm just a missionary. I'm just a choir member. You're placing limitations on a limitless God. And that clashes. Just like faith and unbelief clash. You're placing limitations on a limitless God. So tonight, make it up in your mind. I'm taking off the limitations. How do you know what you can or cannot do until you first try? If the man by the pool of Bethesda wouldn't have tried to arise when Jesus commanded him to, we would still be reading about the man who was lame that came by the pool of Bethesda every year, and he would still be lame until his death. The man with the withered hand would still have that hand impairment if he had not tried to just stretch it out. And it could have been stiff. It might have been a little pain. But because he wanted it bad enough, the pain didn't stop him. The discomfort, that he experienced by stretching it out did not stop him from getting the promise. And we get to the point where if we're discomforted or we feel any kind of pain, we don't even want to try no more. We're like, no, they ain't the will of God. How do you know that? How do you know that God is not working through that discomfort to get you deliverance? Do you think every day is just going to be Sunday? Howdy, and never goodbye? Baby, that's in heaven. That's not right here. Down here, you got to work for it. Listen, I'm praying for you that spirit of procrastination will be broken off of you this year. And that you would be able to reach your full potential in God. If you believe that, do me a favor and put all those hearts on there if you believing that. This year, I'm gonna maximize my full potential in God. Let me see those hearts of those of you who are saying, God, this year, I'm gonna use what I got to get what I want. I'm gonna use the potential, the power that worketh in me, so that I can just not have exceeding, but I can have exceedingly. Not just so that I can have abundant, but I can have abundantly. Come on, somebody. And I'm trying to tell you, God is saying right now, when you get up and you do what you can do, God said, I'm ready to amaze you. I'm ready to blow your mind with what I'm going to do, what I have prepared for you on the other side of through. But some of y'all so afraid to go through. That's why you're stuck. Listen, I hope this has been a blessing to you tonight. The seed that you're going to sow tonight, share this message. If you're on here tonight and this has blessed you, share this message. Share it in places where people don't talk about God. Because listen, there's somebody that needs to know that you can't just sit and wait on God to do everything. There's parts and there that you must do. And we've got to play a role in this. You play a role in your deliverance. You are the major part of it. Will you be made whole? And if you will, number one, you'll eliminate the excuses. Number two, you'll do what you have to do to get what you need from God. And number three, you'll use what you have. And number four, you'll stop responding to pity and respond to the potential that God has placed on the inside of you. Yeah? Was this good or not, y'all? Yeah? Was this good? Let me see. Let me know if this bless you. Yeah. Yeah. This gonna light some fire up under y'all. It's gonna light some fire up under you. I gotta get up off of this and do something. Yeah, I could be, a mother goose could be sitting on her babies, waiting for them to hatch, but if she never gets up off of them, she's gonna smother what she's been protecting. Y'all, some of y'all smothering the promises of God because you won't get up. Wow. Listen, I hope this has blessed y'all tonight. I might go back and watch this again myself because I promise you, I think I preached to myself in some of this. And if it blessed you, then sow the seed tonight of sharing this message, tagging people. Tag people's name in there. Say, hey, sis, listen to this. Hey, bro, listen to this. Comment, like, and share this. Let somebody know. Listen, in 2022, we got stuff to do. Oh, I like that. Y'all got to type that. In 2022, we have stuff to do. We got things we got to be doing. Listen, I ain't got time to argue with you because I got stuff I got to do for the kingdom. I don't have time to be pitying myself and look at what's not going right because there's so many things that are going right. Those are the things that I'm going to celebrate. And I got too much to look forward to sit here and be pitiful, to have a pity party, to think about what's not going right. Come on, I ain't trying to fool with you. If you want to stay ordinary, stay ordinary. But I serve an extraordinary God, and I want an extraordinary life. I want extraordinary things to happen in my life. I got things to do in 2022. Excuse me, I got things to do in 2022. You need to type that. I got stuff to do in 2022. 2022 is the year that you get up off the seat of do nothing and you do and work with the promises that God has spoken. He has the master plan. You just got to get up and simply start walking. Listen, I hope this blessed y'all. Woo, it blessed me. I have goosebumps, y'all. I feel my adrenaline rushing. Just such a powerful, powerful word that God just blessed us with tonight. And so I hope you all will join me Sunday. Listen, bring somebody with you to church on Sunday. We're going to be virtual, but bring somebody with you. Tell them, hey, 9:30, Grace for It Live. We don't know what God's going to do, but we know whatever he is going to do is going to be simply amazing. Because there's nothing ordinary about God. Everything about God is super califragilisticexpialidocious. I know y'all ain't heard that in years, right? But listen, this is Dr. C signing off. I love you. And listen, the next time I see you, let me see you getting up doing something, working with the promises of God. I love you all. God bless you, and see you on Sunday.